Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm Laughingboy, and I'm here again with...
Tom Fawkes! Hello!
Tom Fawkes. Hello, Tom Fawkes.
I apologize if I sound a little bit, like, froggier than usual. I've got allergies. It's that time of year.
Nah, it's okay. I think the last recording session, I was actually getting over a cold, so it's fine. So on the last episode, we started talking about how to Let's Play. We talked about the different Let's Play styles, and today we're going to talk about actually recording a new Let's Play. So basically, back in the day, LPs were kind of done in what we now call like a post-commentary style. I almost said post-apocalyptic, where video is recorded and then audio commentary is added in later.
And then
and then maybe around 2008 or so, that kind of evolved into a live commentary style where both audio commentary and video are recorded at the same time. And I guess it just kind of, as technology grew and people got more acquainted with, you know, uploading videos to YouTube, it just kind of evolved in this new live commentary.
I think it was partially more the fact that I don't think a lot of people who starting off making Let's Plays really knew about syncing and all that, so it was easier to do post commentary when you were watching over the footage later. Whereas as things grew, not really even grew more technologically advanced, because for a while there were still capture cards that had a decent amount of delay between what you were seeing and what was being captured. So so then they found out oh, I could just do the scroll through a menu and say 1 2 3 1 2 3 kind of thing, and that'll sync it all up.
Yeah, and even before, I mean, we're blessed with better, I guess, software, especially if you own an Elgato, but you're still seeing, a desynced audio versus what's actually going on in the recording.
Kind of. It depends. It depends on how well you can sync up your commentary with the gameplay. Right.
But I guess the question here is, are your LP commentaries done live, or do you do those in post?
My commentaries are done live. They'll be done in post if there's an audio error and it's a game where there's autosave, or I saved and I realized that I didn't hit record on my commentary or something like that. So
you just use it as kind of like a repair function?
More or less, yes. It's a patch, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you use text overlays to edit in more information while you're recording, or after you're recording?
See, in terms of editing, I do very minimalistic editing on my stuff, unless it's something that I'm really gung ho about. I think the Pokemon one was the recent Pokemon LP I did, Pokemon Sun and Moon, or Pokemon Moon particularly, had a I was actually going through the footage of that one, and anytime I would see something where it's oh, that shouldn't be, let me just correct something with some text. But usually it's just I'll throw the beginning card and the end slate on there and just export it most of the time. If it's a multiplayer kind of thing, then I don't really worry too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, especially with multiplayer, things just kind of are as they are.
Yeah.
So what kind of equipment do you actually use to record your commentary audio?
Commentary audio, I use a UX2, a microphone hub. I think it was more made for guitars and various instruments, but I use that, and then I have an Audio Technica AT2020 hooked up to that, and that's how I can get all the goofy effects oh, it's old-timey radio, or put me back in the water, kind of that kind of thing.
Oh. Wait, that's kind of awesome, though.
Yeah.
So that you actually have
So I could do. I can do those effects live, basically.
That's really cool. Holy crap! I'm gonna have to put a link to that in the description. So that's just the hardware that you're using?
Yeah, that's the hardware. The software that comes with the UX2 is called POD Farm, which gives you all those effects on there. And the mic pretty much does not work unless you have POD Farm open. So it kind of gives you all the editing tools. Here, for example, I could do something right now a little bit. So this is what my mic sounds like with absolutely no effects or anything like that on it. So I've got this specific thing for a console and compressor and a noise gates. That way, outside noise doesn't get in.
And that's just automatic?
That's not automatic. I do
on the fly rather. Yeah.
That's all being processed as I'm talking. And it's like,
really
and
cool.
and it's one of those things where it's where like you save certain like presets that you have, and every time you open up Pod Farm, it'll open that up. So I have all of those active, and then I just have all the other effects that I normally use that I could set to active or inactive at any time.
Wow, that's really cool. So, do you have any kind of tips for recording with the best possible sound quality?
If you can't get a good mic, make sure the place that you're in has like some form of like is able to be like, I don't want to say sealed, but like just try to reduce its echo as much as possible. Like, flat hard surfaces reflect sound very well, so you get a lot of echo on that. I don't know if you could tell, but I kind of I still get a little bit of echo on mine because I don't really have anything up to dampen the sound around the room.
Right.
But yeah, anything like curtains or like egg crate foam or like soundproofing foam, those are really good at like dampening echo and sound in a room. So you really get like a clean, crisp sound with no echo.
Right.
And then you don't necessarily have to turn up your settings to max for people to hear you. Like I know there's like a lot of people where their mic could be turned up to like full blast. They'll just be like, okay, guys, we're going to be getting into my Let's Play here. And it's like you can't understand a word they're saying, and it's just like ear wrenching. Tone it back a little bit because your audience can adjust the volume at their whim.
Yeah, I think there's always a weird kind of like balance between your game audio and your commentary audio.
Yeah.
That
also, I'd say
make it sound a little harder
if you're doing
than
like
it's supposed to
gameplay
be.
audio and commentary, I'd say like try to keep the gameplay audio at least like a certain amount of decibels below what your commentary is. So that way it doesn't. So that way you're. So first off, that you're not. So like you have to keep it within a range. So that way you're not overpowering the game audio, but at the same time the game audio isn't overpowering you. And I'd say for like certain cutscenes, depending on what you're doing, you could like just like not talk and like boost the gameplay audio, so that way people are getting the experience of like the cutscenes and whatnot.
Yeah, I do know that some channels will swear by doing that, whereas others will tend to talk over it. But I think that's just a personal preference.
It'll depend. Like it depends on if it's like, say, a blind run through where first off they don't know where the cutscene triggers are. Or it's just one of those things where it's like, you're there mainly for the commentary, not necessarily for the game.
Yeah. I think at that point, it's really just, what do you want your channel to be, at that point? So we kind of talked about it very briefly, but what are your tips and can we kind of go into more detail for syncing audio and the game video before recording?
If you get so if you have you have your audio recording, you have your video recording. So you just want to like scroll through the menu while like counting it out. So let's say you got like, start, exit level, and quit or something like that. So you just go through each of those where it's like, or like you've got like 3 or 4 options in there. So like scroll down like and time it with it. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then in post editing, try to like move the audio to match like the video of it counting down and counting back up. Like that's generally how I sync up. And it's usually the easiest. Like I don't think it's like that great a mystery, because I've seen people do that like all the time. Like Rooster Teeth does it like in their videos sometimes. Like when let's say they like lose a recording in the middle of the video, and then like they bring it back up and just show them syncing again.
So it's not a best kept secret, but especially if you're starting out, I think it's like something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And so what equipment do you use to record your actual gameplay, especially if it's on console? And we can talk a little bit, because I know you do record PC games as well. So for console, what do you use to record gameplay?
On console, I use the Elgato HD60 Pro, which is an internal capture card that plugs into one of your motherboard's PCIe slots. So pretty much if it's the same area where you plug in like a graphics card or something like that. Because it's internal, it doesn't have to go through like USB or like any of like, because USB kind of has like, I wouldn't say like a gate, but it's pretty much like PCIe is like a direct connection into the motherboard. So it's like it's getting to the other areas of the computer fastest. So like, so when I record with the Elgato HD60 Pro, I think I can get up to 60 megabits per second or megabytes per second or whatever it is, versus I have another one, the HD60S, which is a USB 3 one. I think that one gets up like the 30 megabytes per second.
Yeah, there's the HD60S, there's the HD60,
the HD,
and then there's the HD.
Also, big difference between the HD60S and the HD60, both of which are USB, is that the S is USB 3, and because the transfer speed is so much faster, then you don't get the delay between capture and real time that you normally get in the HD60. The Pro is like that too because it's hooked into the PCIe slot.
Right, and both of those I think were specifically meant for streamers, actually.
Yes.
Because of the cut down on lag.
Yeah.
It sort of helps on the commentary as well, so there's not that much of a break between the commentary audio and the actual gameplay. Yeah,
for a while, AverMedia was the king of that because they were because like a lot of their older capture cards had they did have PCIe capture cards as well. Unfortunately, the technology wasn't quite there yet, so at the most you were doing 720p 60 FPS as opposed to 1080p 60 FPS like you can with this one.
Oh, and one other thing is that I wanted to specifically mention the HD. The original HD is simply due to the fact that if you can find one, you can actually record retro consoles off of it. So if anyone is looking to record like NES, SNES, pretty much up to excluding the Saturn apparently, you can record most retro consoles using the regular HD.
At that point, I'd say go for like a Dazzle or something like that. It does have a little bit of delay, but like the HD does as well. But the fact is that like something along the lines like a Dazzle, it was like made for your standard like 3 color input, the yellow, the white, and the red, and also has S video on it as well. So I think that'd work a little bit better.
Well, there is an S-Video attachment that you can buy from Elgato's site. It is an extra $10 purchase, and it can only be done online. But it's if you can do it, it's pretty good. But like I said, I think Saturn is out of the question for some weird reason. And I think once upon a time, Hauppauge also did a PCIe card, but they're not very frequently used anymore. Yeah. So on to the next question. What about your PC recordings?
For that, what I'm looking into getting, this is not what I actually use. What I'm looking into getting is having a second PC, like one specifically for either recording or gaming, and then capturing that through and then capturing like one or the other through the HD60 Pro. However, right now I just use the built-in NVIDIA capture thing, which is called Shadowplay.
I'm sorry, I was just kind of surprised that their NVIDIA has like a built-in capture.
Yeah, it's like under the NVIDIA like the GeForce experience thing. There's like a little thing called Shadowplay on there, and then you could, I think like they're trying to like make a minor push into like the streaming realm as well, because like that also does you can also stream through Shadowplay as well.
Oh wow.
It's very bare bones because all it is capturing the PC, your PC's screen and like your microphone, and I think maybe a webcam, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, that's not bad, especially if you're starting out.
Yeah. Like it's kind of like it also works for recording, so it's kind of an all-in-one if you want like web face cam on there as well.
For the 3DS, there are ways for someone, especially if you have the time and money for it, you can buy a modified 3DS to make Let's Plays with. So I know that you've been recording, especially with your Pokemon Moon Let's Play. Obviously, you had to have a modified 3DS in order to record that. So where did you get yours? I got it from a website called 3dscapture.com. It's just some guy. It's some guy in Utah who I think like maybe bought like, I think he bought it like a I don't know if he no because I guess the Katsukity ones are more streamlined. But basically like he figured out how to do like capture for old DSs. Like I think he made capture units for the original DS. I think Emil had one for his like I think the first one he used on was his OkamiDen Let's Play. I'm not entirely sure on that one though, but I think he got it from there because that's the only one I could think of. But then yeah, and then that's what I got for that's the one I got for my 3DS. And then is there any software that you have to record the gameplay through that method? No, there's a built-in capture thing where it just shows the gameplay on screen. You could use the there is like a built-in capture thing on it, but I just use like Fraps, or like it counts as a game window, so I think I could use Shadowplay on it as well. Most of the time I use Fraps, but that eats up a lot of space. And are there any other changes in your recording procedure when you record a DS/3DS game? Not really. It's pretty much the same, except for the fact that like it's pretty much just like plug and go. Like I don't have to go through another like a device
as I would with with recording a console. It's just like from the DS into the computer.
And then do you have any like tips to make sure that you get the best video and audio quality when recording a 3DS game?
You can adjust the resolution of the screen, but you got to remember that it's when you adjust the resolution, it will like, I guess, like blur some like pixel together. I think the minimum, I'd say like probably record at the minimum resolution, then upscale it in post. Because I think like the lowest, it depends as well, because you could separate it into two different, you could separate the video on this into two separate windows, one for top screen, one for bottom. I just keep them both as one and then like crop things out as I need to.
Okay. That might make things a little easier, depending on how you want to record it. Some LPers talk about paths when it comes to creating LP episodes or recording them before essentially playing a game for a little bit before actually recording it. What's the best course of action? What's the most efficient way to get through the game, especially in terms of recording it?
It depends, because like if you want to like record a game the day it comes out, then you're not really going to have time to do a like sort of like a practice it first. So you're just going to have to like pop the game in, plug it in and just, get going. But, with like older games or like games that have been out for, few months now, where it's like the hype is kind of dying off, but people still want to see it. You could always, you have that time to practice. Like for me in general, it's I'll play like a certain amount of the game and then I'll record up to that part. And it's usually like I'll play for like maybe about an hour, and then that'll get me maybe two episodes out of well, depending on how long I'm doing each episode. But I'll play for an hour, and then I'll record up to that hour that I played up to in practice, and then I'll just like edit all that together, and that'll start the cycle over again where I go for the practice run again.
So how do you deal with that, especially with more recent games where auto-saving functions or only one save slot would make doing those retakes a bit more difficult?
It'll depend. Sometimes you could have like a Smurf account that'll where if it's a console game, you could use a Smurf account, and then if it's a physical game, then you don't have to worry about it. Digital games that have only one save file and do autosave are a little bit trickier. Right. Those ones I generally don't do a practice file with, and I'll just go along. I'll just like start recording and do whatever it is I need to do. I'm trying to think for Shovel Knight, for the recent Shovel Knight thing that came out. I play through a level, explore it a little bit, get everything in it, and then I'd record the episode immediately after it. So like all the collectibles and hidden stuff were still fresh in my mind.
Moving on to sort of a different question. I know you kind of already talked about this with the last question, but how many episodes do you find yourself recording at one time for one Let's Play?
It'll depend on the Let's Play. Sometimes I'll do like one episode at a time. Well, I guess it'll be like one episode at a time, then go back to the practice file and start up on the quote unquote next episode, and then record the next episode. I usually try to have like a buffer. So I'll try to get like maybe like if I post them daily, maybe like a week's worth of videos out at a time, and that'll also depend on how long the episodes I'm making are. Because if it's half-hour episode, then that's like at bare minimum 3.5 hours of like straight recording for that week.
Now, have you ever had to record a game where you couldn't save your progress, like an older NES game?
I don't think I've done anything like that quite yet. I did just get a Retron 5, which I know has the ability to do save states, so I don't think I have to worry about that.
Right, and especially with the Wii Virtual Console, hopefully the Switch Virtual Console, there are a lot of options to do save states, so not usually too much of a big deal. Now, do you have any problems with HD copy protection? Those of you that have not been listening in on to the show before, HDCP, aka HD copy protection, is a pretty common issue with using HDMI on a video game console in order to record video. It essentially cuts you out if it detects, if the HDMI cable you're using detects that you are connecting it to something that is unauthorized.
Right.
It will cut out the audio and video, most times just the video, so that you can't record anything off of it. Have you had a problem with that?
I mean, like, most commonly, the only thing that does it is the PlayStation 3. The 4 used to do it, but you were able to, but they added the option to turn that off fairly early on. Yeah, the PlayStation 3 was the biggest, offender of that, and there's all I needed was like another like thing to like pass through that, and I still can use HDMI because at that point, because like I used I'm trying to think, it's like this it's basically just like an HDMI splitter, and when you plug it in there, it's like, oh, you're just plugging it into the splitter, and then the other HDMI coming out of it into the capture card doesn't detect that it's coming directly from the PS3, so it doesn't turn on HDCP.
Yeah. Fortunately, it eliminates the handshakes. Unfortunately, I think a lot of those HDMI splitters are hard to find.
Not really. I plugged mine in on Amazon. It was like right there, like $10.
Ooh, nice. And of course, if you do buy an Elgato, especially the older ones, I'm not so sure about the Pros and the S's and the 60s, but I do know that the older Elgatos would come with a cable that you could plug into the PS3's
it would come
component slot.
With a component cable, like sort of input thing that you plugged into the capture card, so that you're at least getting 720p or I guess 720i quality.
Yeah.
And then you'd be fine.
I think we're gonna call it here tonight. I just poked myself with my pen and it hurt. So that's gonna do it for tonight's episode. Next time we will talk a little bit about guest commentaries and then get into some editing questions. So thank you for watching, and we will be back with more Let's Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.